Hey there guys, this is Richard, your host, with another marvelous video. Anime has always been a popular form of media, and today people from all over the globe enjoy watching anime. However, popular anime shows that have been adapted for the big screen frequently receive negative reviews from both critics and viewers. Live-action anime movies, just like adaptations of other media like video games and novel series, often struggle to stay true to the original plot. Given that most fans prefer that many of their beloved characters remain in 2D form, anime can be thought of as being particularly risky to adapt to live action. Budget constraints in the majority of live-action adaptations make it particularly challenging to faithfully adapt scenes to truly grandiose and aesthetically stunning levels. Nevertheless, despite this wary audience, the movie business is constantly attempting to strike the ideal equilibrium between bringing anime to life and accurately capturing these characters' feelings, behaviors, and stories. Although live-action anime adaptations have a bad perception, there are actually a lot of excellent anime-inspired films. Both fans and those who have never heard of it before will find it entertaining because they're able to capture the tension, style, and fun of their source while preserving its originality. Here is a massive list of every major live-action anime adaptation movie. Keep watching. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Rurouni Kenshin movies, 2012 to 2021. Samurai X, also known as Rurouni Kenshin, is one of the most popular and iconic samurai animes ever produced. The tale, which is set in Meiji-era Japan, centers on former assassin Himura Kenshin, who has moved on from his horrific past. Instead, the master swordsman lives in the countryside and provides defense to the helpless. From 1994 to 1999, the Rurouni Kenshin manga was published in Japan, and newer editions have since been made available as the manga issues continue to be released in 2023. Further, the anime series ran from 1996 to 1998. In 2012, the debut film in the live-action Rurouni Kenshin franchise was released. Because of the movie's favorable ratings, a sequel was made in 2014 with plans for more in the not-so-distant future, and today. A sequel was made in 2014 with plans for more in the not-so-distant future, and today there's a total of 5 Rurouni Kenshin movies, all available for viewing on Netflix and each making for an entertaining watch. The series not only pays a great deal of homage to the original anime and manga, but also succeeds in living up to the high standards established by both media. The scenes of tense and exceptionally quick sword combat with their precise and exquisite choreography help to accomplish this in large part. The Netflix sequels uphold the high caliber set by the amazing original series. Rurouni Kenshin is hailed as the decade's greatest live-action Japanese action series because it has everything one can possibly ask for. It has amazing combat choreography, heartbreakingly gorgeous cinematography, elaborate sets, and charming lead actors. A small tonal shift is one of the minor differences between the anime and its adaptation. The live-action movie avoids farcical jokes and cuteness, permitting for some lightheartedness but ultimately opting for a more serious mood and tone, which is fitting for a tale of a samurai who longs for peace and swears to never kill again, but is repeatedly forced to draw his sword to protect the innocent when confronted by the ghosts of his past. Not only is the action great in this series, but it also makes sure to follow up on character development, which makes for a wholesome watch. The Rurouni Kenshin series is a prime example that anime can be turned into good, entertaining live-action movies, and that's why this one is on the top of our list. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Diamond is Unbreakable, Chapter 1, 2017. The script for this Japanese action fantasy movie was written by Itaro Ira, and Takashi Miike served as director. The movie chronicles the first 17 chapters of Hirohiko Araki's manga series JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, specifically the Diamond is Unbreakable story arc. The plot revolves around Josuke, a young kid living in Morayo. Despite being a typical tranquil Japanese town, Morayo suddenly became the epicenter of strange events. Josuke Higashikata, a high school student who lives in this community, possesses a mysterious ability, the source of which even he isn't aware of, that allows him to repair damaged objects and people to their original state. However, everything changes when Josuke encounters his biological uncle Jotaro Kuju, who informs him of his condemned bloodline, the background of the Joestar family, and their paranormal abilities known as stands. Soon after, Josuke learns that someone in his hometown is giving similar powers to others, and he embarks on an adventure with Jotaro and his friend Koichi to find out who or what is the source of these powers. An enormous number of anime and manga fans acquainted with the popular series flocked to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Diamond is Unbreakable Chapter 1, when it was released in 2017 during the height of the series' popularity. Even on harsher review sites like Rotten Tomatoes, the live-action adaptation received mostly favorable comments praising its effects and originality. The method, outfits, and vibrant settings of the manga and anime are successfully incorporated into the film. In fact, this is probably one of the toughest anime or manga stories to be adapted for live action because of all the magical elements. However, a good director and a reasonable script has allowed for all of it to come together beautifully. Thus, it only makes sense that JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Diamond is Unbreakable Chapter 1 is frequently cited as one of the greatest live-action anime films ever made. Kingdom, 2019. There are other places where action blockbusters are made and enjoyed thoroughly besides Hollywood. This martial arts epic, which is set in the time of China's warring states period renowned for its brutal warfare, easily appeals to action movie fans from all over the world. A war-orphaned slave named Jin in the 2019 film Kingdom aspires to become the great general under the heavens and support the king Ying Zheng in his efforts to one day unify China and put an end to all bloodshed. The anime series has aired more than 100 episodes and has presently completed its 4th season, with a 5th season on its way, slated to release in January of 2024. For those who are unfamiliar with the historical anime, the movie version serves as an easy introduction, while making it a fun watch for devoted viewers so that they can reflect on the series' high points. Kingdom does its original source material justice by telling the story of 2 slaves who become generals in a historical war fantasy as authentically as possible. This film is a standalone cinematic masterpiece as well, so it might entice some new viewers to check out the anime and comics it's based on. What's not to like about performances that are adorably somber and extravagant, music that's epic, and costumes that Variety describes as a combination of Game of Thrones and Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, with African and Chinese influences. In the end, the film is a lot of fun. The movie has a lot of energy and goes along quickly without faltering as it nears the end. It's vibrant, enjoyable, exciting, and an all-over enjoyable ride. You'll leave having been thoroughly entertained, which seems to be the director's intention, and in that case, it achieves the same quite admirably. Blade of the Immortal, 2017. Takuya Kimura, a legendary Japanese actor, stars in the 2017 samurai action movie Blade of the Immortal. Takashi Miike is the director of the movie, and it's based on Hiroaki Samura's popular manga story of the same name. The story centers on the immortal samurai Manji. After an iconic fight, Manji, a highly talented samurai, is cursed with immortality. He's haunted by the brutal murder of his sister and realizes that the only way to find his soul again is to fight and overcome evil. Thus, the plot follows his journey as he takes on the role of young Rin Asano's bodyguard as they embark on a quest for revenge against the Ito Ryu samurais led by a merciless warrior named Anotsu, who murdered the child's parents. Miki explores various topics in the film, such as retribution, in a more nuanced way because he views Manji as a dark hero. The first 2 plot arcs of the series are covered in the film and shows Manji's journey beautifully. Many fans felt that the charm of the original anime was maintained in this format because the actors were excellent choices for their parts and accurately conveyed the traits of the characters. This movie is successful because of the nearly excessive amount of blood, guts, battling with weapons, and undercurrents of supernatural power. Additionally, the film adaptation more than makes up for the anime version's slow pacing and insufficient character development by adding more thrilling combat scenes that keep viewers on the edge of their seats. Everyone should watch Blade of the Immortal if they're looking to watch a solid live-action anime film. Gantz, 2010. Despite being a classic series, Gantz requires some getting used to. While Hiroya Oku's manga is an excellent gritty sci-fi horror tale, the anime falls short in some ways and amplifies some of the weaker aspects of the source material, such as an annoying protagonist. This 2010 live-action anime adaptation film has a fairly simple plot in comparison to its manga source material. 2 young men, Kai Kurono and Masaru Kato, who were killed in a train mishap, are the subjects of this movie. After passing away, they discover that they've been transported to a different world, a world that's dominated by a black sphere known as Gantz. The Gantz, which they discover in an unfurnished Tokyo apartment, compels them and other similarly dead individuals to participate in missions to locate and eliminate extraterrestrials. Kurono, Kato, and other recently deceased individuals must gain points by eliminating aliens. Once they reach 100 points, they have the option of being revived or restoring a specific individual's life. The movie is fast-paced and qualifies as a thriller, as they're unable to distinguish between truth and game, but must battle on if they want one more shot at life. The live-action Gantz movie from 2010 10 is a more approachable and digestible experience in comparison to the manga and anime, because it primarily chooses to play out like a typical blockbuster and minimizes the anime's more divisive aspects. Many say that the movie and its sequel are rather unremarkable. However, as far as our live-action adaptations are concerned, they check many boxes. Gantz is a gritty action film that balances drama, plot, and character development while being violent, gruesome, and suspensefully built up. Thus, it's clever and compelling, and if you're a fan, this one is worth checking out. Another Gantz, 2011. Another Gantz, as one can tell from its name, is the follow-up movie to the one we just discussed. No, this one is not the sequel, which is titled Gantz: The Perfect Answer. Instead, this is a prequel to the sequel. Stay with me here. And both movies were released in the year 2011. Before Gantz: The Perfect Answer hit theaters, this movie, from the same writing and directorial team, was broadcast on the Nippon Television Network. It was advertised as an alternate perspective version of the first Gantz movie. Another Gantz includes fresh scenes from the Gantz movie as well as shortened versions of scenes from the theatrical version. This movie portrays details of Kei Kurono and Masaru Keito's childhood, as well as those of other characters. Its main selling point is that it's a different perspective narrative, distinct from the first Gantz movie, and is from the viewpoint of an investigative journalist. The film provides another piece of the convoluted puzzle that is the world of Gantz, delving deep into the mystery. For those who might have not liked the first Gantz movie, this one is definitely a better take. It's far more fast-paced, has multiple storylines and interesting characters, and is all in all far more dynamic than the first film, even though it essentially tells the same story. Ace Attorney, 2012. There aren't many young adults who aren't acquainted with the characters from Ace Attorney, one of the most recognizable video games and anime series in history. Over the years, this brand traveled a great distance, hence the movie had to simultaneously incorporate aspects of both cinema and video games because of its distinct and mixed heritage. Ace Attorney the film demonstrates that converting video games and anime into live-action movies can not only be an enjoyable experience for the fanbase, but also enhance the fandom experience as a whole by turning up the courtroom drama archetype to the nines. This tale is a legal comedy drama which focuses on the Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney cases and follows a young defense lawyer as he works to solve the murder of his mentor, Mia Fey. He also has help in the form of his mentor's younger sister, Maya, who's a psychic in training. The story follows them as they try to find out why Mia was murdered and who did it, and also solve other cases along the way. Choosing a director is always important when trying to bring an adaptation to life, and they make the right decision in Takashi Miike, the master of pulp, as he adds his own cartoonish action flair and emphasizes Ace Attorney's outrageous, high-camp elements. Even critics have praised Ace Attorney as the top video game movie of its time. The second and fourth cases featured in the first game served as the main inspiration for the 2012 picture. This is a courtroom thriller with twists and turns, and the characters are brought to life in a comedic yet interesting way, which makes this one a successful live-action adaptation. Alita: Battle Angel, 2019. Alita: Battle Angel is one of the few anomalies in the pop culture realm when it comes to live-action versions of anime or manga, because it was one of the few times Hollywood showed its interest in the genre of anime and was able to get it right. Positive reviews of the movie were given by both well-known critics and many fans of the original material. The cyberpunk blockbuster Alita: Battle Angel is based on the manga Gun and its anime version Battle Angel. The movie takes place in a future time period where robots and robotic enhancements are commonplace. In fact, there are doctors for robots and people with bionic enhancements. During such a time, Ido, a sympathetic cyber doctor, discovers the abandoned Alita, a deactivated cyborg in the Iron City scrapyard, and brings the unconscious cyborg Alita to his facility. When Alita first wakes up, she has no recollection of who she is or the environment she is in. Thus, the story follows Alita as Ido makes an effort to protect Alita from the secrets of her enigmatic past as she adjusts to her new life and the dangerous streets of Iron City. The plot's unusual loyalty to the original work, which also distinguishes it from other Hollywood adaptations, is reflected in the actor's traits and behavior. This mecha girl smash hit really came into its own and has a devoted following that's eagerly awaiting a sequel. It draws artistic inspiration not only from the original material, but also from a generous number of great sci-fi masterpieces. Battle Angel is an excessively action-packed whirlwind with a potent and unexpectedly sweet coming-of-age story at its center. Rosa Salazar's digital enhancement may be debatable to some, but she delivers a powerful, fashionable, and outstanding performance in this underappreciated movie. In fact, even Alita's 3D eyes, which are typically avoided or derided in the live-action world, seem to be well received. This is an absolute must-watch. Nana, 2005. The story of two totally distinct women who share the same first name and end up becoming housemates and friends after encountering each other on a train headed to Tokyo is told in Nana, an adaptation of the well-known manga by Ai Yazawa. Nana Komatsu is a happy individual who's focused on finding love, whereas Nana Osaki is the mysterious lead singer of the punk rock band The Black Stones. Despite having utterly different personalities, the two pursue their goals in Tokyo and develop a deep emotional bond. This one is not purely an action film or filled with violence like many others on this list. It is instead a beautifully developed story that follows the two titular characters in their journey in life. Both leads are brilliantly established as fully rounded individuals with goals, faults, unique abilities and anxieties in the manga, anime, and finally in this film. Their relationship aids in their personal development rather than defining them, which is beautiful to watch. The movie adaptations are faithful to the source material, emphasizing feminine emotion and featuring some of the greatest musical performances in movie history. Nana, which was released in 2005, thus did a fantastic job of adapting the original material, both in terms of characterization and presentation. Mika Nakashima, a well-known Japanese singer, was chosen to play Osaki, further solidifying Nana's place among some of the best live-action movies. Moreover, as the two Nanas, Mika Nakashima and Aoi Miyazaki gave strong performances, especially the latter. Attack on Titan, 2015. The 2015 Japanese post-apocalyptic action movie Attack on Titan was based on the Hajime Isayama novel of the same name. Shinji Higuchi served as the director, and Yusuke Watanabe and Tomohiro Machiyama were the writers behind the story. After a colossal titan attacks the town they call home, Eren Yeager, his childhood friends Mikasa Ackerman and Armin Arlott join the Survey Corps, a military organization to battle the enormous humanoids known as the Titans. The film follows the journey of the trio and encapsulates Eren's determination to save mankind and defeat the Titans. The movie is divided into two portions, with the first one arriving in theaters in Japan on August 1st, 2015, and the second one arriving on September 19 of the same year. The 2015 live-action two-part movie Attack on Titan is unquestionably the worst way to appreciate the comics, anime, or even the games. The films keep the main themes of Hajime Isayama's story's opening chapters, but only slightly after the details to shift the atmosphere. The majority of the changes serve to weaken the characters, who weren't exactly the star of Attack on Titan's early episodes. In spite of all that, it manages to be mildly enjoyable in a B-movie sort of manner. The story does an adequate job with the visuals it had available, and the movies really come to life when the Titans are tearing through the last of mankind. Attack on Titan, the 2015 movie, is a good way to pass some time if you're into a kaiju-themed adventure. However, the manga and the anime are your best bet if you truly want to enjoy Attack on Titan. Assassination Classroom, The Graduation, 2016. A 2016 Japanese school fantasy action comedy movie titled Assassination Classroom, Graduation was directed by Ichiro Hasumi and written by Tatsuya Kanazawa. The movie is a follow-up to Assassination Classroom, which came out in 2015. Both movies are based on Issei Mitsui's manga series of the same name, which he wrote and drew. The plot picks up from where the previous film left off and follows the students of Class 3E as they try to assassinate their teacher, Koro Sensei. Although Class 3 at Kunuji Gaoka High School has been trying to assassinate their tentacled instructor, Koro Sensei, who is apparently going to blow up the Earth on graduation day for 6 months since the start of senior year, they've been unsuccessful. Feeling like they're in a bind, the assistant teacher, Tadayomi Karasuma, tells the class to give it their all because Koro Sensei will be distracted and a prime target for murder because of the upcoming school celebration. What follows is numerous attempts to kill their teacher, the involvement of an assassin, and Koro Sensei saving the day in the end. Without giving too much away, what we can definitely say is that this movie wholesomely wraps up the story of Koro Sensei. It reveals the origins of this tentacled teacher and his motivations, along with bringing the story to a conclusive end. The film and visuals are surprisingly good for a live-action adaptation of the tentacled teacher, and most fans agreed that it was nice to see why things happened and what Koro Sensei's backstory was. All in all, for fans of the Assassination Classroom material, this one is definitely a fun and enjoyable watch. Your Lie in April, 2016. Whatever the platform or the medium, Your Lie in April seems to be bound to be a hit. Both the manga by Naoshi Arakawa and the anime adaptation by A1 are widely regarded as some of the greatest stories of love in their respective media. Although the live-action film isn't well recognized outside of Japan, it's a good representation of this story. Many fans have been moved to tears by this movie, and while the script is obviously great, the actors in this movie also bring the characters along with all their idiosyncrasies to life on the screen. The story follows a young boy named Kosei Arima, who despite being a talented musician, has been unable to play the piano due to the unexpected death of his mother. When he encounters Kaori Miyazono, a violinist with an infectious enthusiasm for life, this all changes. Kosei is taken on a whirlwind adventure of joy, music, love, and sadness as he's forever altered by Kaori. Your Lie in April is a potent and dramatic experience that combines romance, drama, and music-focused scenes. The movie successfully encapsulates the Your Lie in April story and showcases the aspects of a love triangle, dealing with trauma, finally breaking free, and learning to live again. In fact, this movie touches one's soul. This is starkly different from our usual recommendations, but it's definitely worth a watch if you're looking for something emotional and soulful. The Disastrous Life of Saiki K, 2017. The Disastrous Life of Saiki K, a 2017 Japanese science fiction comedy film produced by Yuichi Fukuda, is based on the Shuichi Aso manga series of the same name. Kusuo Saiki, a 16-year-old high school student, is the focus of this movie. Despite looking like a normal kid minus the pink hair, Kusuo has unique natural abilities which include clairvoyance and telekinesis. These superpowers may sound interesting, but in Kusuo's experience, they're not as useful as we might think. Despite possessing a power that irritates him, he makes an effort to lead a normal existence. The film follows Kusuo Saiki, a strong psychic who despises being the center of attention. He tries to avoid people in order to conceal his psychic abilities. However, he's encircled by interesting people who constantly manage to disrupt his regular routine. The Disastrous Life of Saiki K doesn't hold back when it comes to being theatrically bold. Further, it stays true to the anime and the manga, unlike many live-action adaptations that tend to alter significant elements of their original works. A combination of these two is the reason behind the film's inconsistent reception during its initial release, and it's the reason why critics are still divided over how the movie turned out. Regardless of how it's received generally, the live-action adaptation stays completely true to the story found in the manga and anime. The style and pacing of the movie can be characterized as erratic or downright insane throughout the events of the movie. Many viewers who anticipated a more authentic or real portrayal of the characters may be surprised to learn that Seiki's mannerisms are very on brand with what we see in the anime. They don't try to humanize the characters and allow the actors to behave and act exactly how the anime characters do. This makes for an interesting viewing experience. Speed Racer, 2008. The Wachowskis wrote and produced the sports action comedy movie Speed Racer in 2008. It's based on the same named anime and manga series from the 1960s. The story centers on Speed Racer, an 18-year-old car racer who pursues the same career path as his apparently deceased brother. Speed Racer chooses to stick by his family and racer motors, which causes problems when he declines a major contract that Royalton Industries owner E.P. Arnold Royalton offers him. He learns a dark secret along the way. Wealthy businessmen manipulate races to increase their profits. Speed then decides to compete in the grueling cross-country race that claimed the life of his sibling in an effort to defeat the executive and secure his family's future, along with stopping race manipulation. Speed Racer, an earlier anime from the 1960s, was also known as Mac Go 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 when it was at the height of its popularity. Speed Racer, the 2008 movie, is frequently regarded as an underappreciated gem of a film and something of a cult favorite, despite the fact that earlier anime either have had questionable adaptations or minimal audience interest. Since its release in 2008, this film has remained a go-to resource for many aficionados of classic anime. To demonstrate even further its iconic status, the live-action adaptation was nominated for an array of film awards and has a sequel in development with a fully written screenplay. This movie is a faithful adaptation of the source material and is able to emulate its tone and style quite well. If you're a fan of racing movies, this one might be right up your alley. Bleach, 2018. Based on the Tite Kubo comic series of the same name, Bleach is a 2018 Japanese action fantasy film made by Warner Brothers and directed by Shinsuke Sato. Sota Fukushi played Ishigo Kurosaki, the movie's primary antagonist. Ishigo Kurosaki, a 15-year-old high school student, is the main character of the story. He resides in Karakura Town with his father, Ishin, and smaller twin sisters, Karin and Yuzu. In addition, he has the gift of seeing spirits, which both Hollows and Soul Reapers find intriguing, thus attracting them to him. This story follows young Ishigo as he's thrown into the world of spirits and the Soul Society, and starts training to fight the monstrous Hollows. Theoretically, none of the classic battle shonen shows should translate well into live-action films. This belief is supported by Bleach's 2018 adaptation, which doesn't convince viewers that their tales can be satisfactorily condensed into 2-hour movies. The anime's first few segments are loosely adapted in the film, which makes it essentially act as a prelude to the main plot. Despite all this, one element works in Bleach's favor. The film is entertaining. That's really all there is to it. Even though the special effects are inconsistent, the plot barely gets started, and the characters don't have enough time to change significantly, these are all legitimate complaints that don't really matter when a movie is still enjoyable. If you're a fan of the Bleach anime or the manga, this will definitely be a trip down memory lane. Death Note, 2006-2007. Death Note is one of the most iconic anime properties of all time. People from all over the world are fans of Light Yagami and Ryuk, with diaries often mimicking the iconic Death Note. It only makes sense that this much-loved manga turned anime was turned into a live-action film for audiences to enjoy. The plot revolves around Light Yagami and kickstarts when he finds the Death Note and figures out how to use it. It's a tense and thrilling plot which has fans from all over the world hooked. It's appropriate to mention this version of the film adaptation of Death Note, given the recent release of Netflix's live-action remake of Death Note and the following raging criticism from critics. This Japanese version closely adhered to the look and behavior of the show's characters, as well as maintaining a connection to the original plot developed in the anime and manga, contrast to the Netflix version, which made numerous creative changes. While adding a few of its own elements, Death Note, the 2006 movie, manages to remain true to its inspiration. Despite having a much smaller budget, the Japanese live-action adaptation doesn't let fans down with its ominous ambiance and Shinigami Ryuk's identical design to its anime counterpart. Both reviewers and fans were impressed by the thrilling cat-and-mouse chase between Yagami and the detectives, which prompted the release of an equally laudable sequel the following year. In addition, a lot of fans connected with the overall horror genre represented in this adaptation, which was the anime's original purpose, making this a faithful adaptation. Fullmetal Alchemist, 2017. The 2017 Japanese science fiction action movie Fullmetal Alchemist, featuring Ryosuke Yamada, Tsubasa Honda, and Dean Fujioka, is based on the first 4 volumes of the same-titled manga series by Hiromu Arakawa. It was directed by Fumihiko Sori, and on December 1st, 2017, Warner Bros. Pictures released it for viewing in Japan. The action in this movie takes place at the start of the 20th century, in a world where alchemy is a legitimate, highly developed and revered science. The brothers Edward and Alphonse Elry, who attempt the illegal practice of human transmutation to revive their dead mother, are the focus of the story. While Edward only loses his left leg during the process, Alphonse loses his entire body. Edward then fastens his right arm to a metal suit of armor and gives it up to save his brother's spirit. Then Edward receives automail, which are mechanical prosthetics that replace his lost arm and leg. He subsequently receives the moniker Fullmetal Alchemist after being admitted to the state alchemists, and the story follows him as he searches with his brother Alphonse for the fabled Philosopher's Stone that apparently has the power to heal their bodies. The movie is a strong anime adaptation. The acting and directing in this film are quite good. It flawlessly captures the aesthetic and atmosphere of the anime. The musical soundtrack is also excellent. It's dramatic, makes wonderful use of drama and action, and is ultimately very moving. The transmutation scenes and Alphonse's metal armor, among other effects, are highly detailed and appear really well in motion pictures, which is crucial. Oh, and the outfits are fantastic and faithful to their equivalents in the anime and manga. The movie tries hard and stays true to the anime and manga, but it just falls short because of the poor script and flat characters. From Me to You, 2010. From Me to You, based on the well-known shoujo novel by Karu Hoshina, is a masterfully told tale of opposites attract. Due to a slight similarity to the horror movie Ring Sadako, Sawako Kuronuma is shunned at school. In contrast, Shota Kazuhaya enjoys popularity and charm. When Shota tries to coax Sawako out of her shell, the chemistry between the two of them rapidly develops and becomes the focus of the movie. When she meets the outgoing Shota, who's constantly the center of attention in a class, her unpopularity among her peers completely changes. This is another rom-com that showcases the proverb, looks can be deceiving. The challenges that introverts face in social situations are voiced in both film and anime versions, which also offer advice on how to come out of one's cocoon and emphasizes the value of friendships. The live-action version from 2010 is a light-hearted love story about 2 characters who are just endearing together. To play the 2 protagonists, Mikako Tabe and Haruma Miura were excellent choices because of their compatibility. The movie is an excellent complement to the manga and anime, even though it's not the only way to experience this tale. The cast gives an excellent performance in this film. Their acting, charisma, and presence really carry the narrative. Without a doubt, this is one of the top teen-focused live-action adaptations to emerge from Japan in the previous 10 years. It's delightful to watch, and the personalities are relatable for viewers. City Hunter, 1993. Wong Jing wrote the screenplay and directed the action comedy movie City Hunter in 1993 in Hong Kong. Based on the same-name Japanese novel and anime, the movie notably features Jackie Chan as the main character. The plot centers on Jackie Chan, who portrays a private eye named Ryo Saiba, looking for a prominent businessman's missing daughter. Finds himself aboard a cruise that's been hijacked, but thankfully he has at his side Kaori, a woman who's also in love with him, to help him save the day. He battles his hunger while trying to save the day, which leads to hilarious circumstances and events. City Hunter is a less impressive picture in the martial arts filmography. It was released a few years before Jackie Chan went viral in Western countries. Despite this, the movie is still enjoyable and has a decent mix of humor and action. The entire movie puts Chan's comedic skills on full display, and there are even a few moments where the actor can really indulge his silly side. Although comedy is a pleasant treat, great stunts are essential for a Jackie Chan film. Despite having some memorable combat scenes, City Hunter falls short of the standards set by films like Police Story, Project A, and Drunken Master in this regard. While it may be a blast from the past, it's still a fun and entertaining movie. Further, if you're a fan of Jackie Chan, this movie is an absolute riot. Inuyashiki, 2018. Hiroya Oku is the author and illustrator of the Japanese science fiction comic series Inuyashiki from January 2014 to July 2017. It was serialized in Kodansha's seinen manga magazine, Evening, and its issues were collected in 10 tankbon volumes. The plot centers on two characters who, as a result of strange occurrence, are given superpowers, but their approaches to using them are very different. Later, it was transformed into an anime, and now this movie. Due to his geriatric appearance, 58-year-old Inuyashiki Ishiru is frequently dismissed by others around him as a pitiful old guy. Despite everything he's done to help his family, they consistently disregard and mistreat him. In addition to everything else, his doctor has informed him that he has cancer and that he probably won't have much longer to live. But just when it seems like things can't get worse, he starts experiencing a variety of issues at both his home and place of employment. He then encounters a little dog on the street who unexpectedly directs him to a park where, unfortunately, an extraterrestrial force that has crash-landed accidentally kills him. To make amends for inadvertently murdering him, the alien force reconstructs him, transforming his body into a highly advanced machine that grants him superhuman abilities, including the ability to fly and use offensive weapons. He also learns that he possesses the ability to heal diseases, which he utilizes to help certain individuals, even some who are terminally sick. However, in the vicinity, there was another teenage boy called Hiro Shishigami, who was also in the impact zone and was reconstructed with similar powers. Hiro Shishigami makes the decision to utilize his powers to eliminate everyone who's against him. Ichiro Inuyashiki thus embarks on an effort to protect Japan from him. In one of the most egotistical and characterless genres in film, Inuyashiki is an anti-ageist superhero movie that tells an immensely human narrative. The live-action Inuyashiki is primarily focused on examining the humanity of its main character, much like the original material and anime adaptation. Although there are fighting scenes, the protagonist's development comes before the action. It's a refreshing and heartfelt film. Assassination Classroom, 2015. Assassination Classroom is a 2015 Japanese live-action movie. It's based on the manga of the same name written by Yusei Matsui. The plot revolves around the assassination of teacher Koro, who is, funnily enough, not a teacher by profession. Koro-sensei is a tentacled creature who has destroyed 70% of the moon, leaving it permanently crescent-shaped. He then threatens to destroy the Earth. He tells the Japanese government that in order to be able to save the Earth, they must kill him by March of next year. He also demands to be made the homeroom teacher of 3rd grade Class E at Kunujigaoka Junior High School. This class is one filled with failures, undesirables, and delinquents. The students are then tasked with assassinating Koro-sensei before graduation. They're taught to use BB pellets and special knives to kill him. Despite the constant threat of being assassinated by his students, Koro-sensei and the students really begin to bond with one another. There are various attempts to assassinate him, and he even gives incentives to his students, like allowing them to cut off his tentacles if they excel academically. Unapologetically odd and faithful to the manga and anime it's translating, the Assassination Classroom manages to seamlessly transition this craziness to live action, which is more of a struggle in and of itself. In this very amusing potpourri, the tale is unique, diverse, and innovative, since it's impossible for an uninformed viewer to predict what can and will happen next. The characters stand out, are recognizable, and exhibit intriguing interpersonal dynamics. The special effects are not as over-the-top as they are in many other live-action movies, which makes it easy on the eyes and not too jarring. The movie is also filled with life lessons, and Koro-sensei really makes education fun for these students, making him a really likable character, despite his threats to destroy the Earth. The movie also has a sequel called Assassination Classroom: Graduation. Animal World, 2018. Animal World is the second major motion picture adaptation of Nobuyuki Fukumoto's manga Kaiji. This Chinese adaptation of the manga also takes from the popular Japanese films Kaiji, The Ultimate Gambler from 2009 and its follow-up from 2011, which are the Japanese live-action adaptations of the manga. The main character, Zeng Kaisi, drifts aimlessly along with no goals, accomplishes nothing, and accrues massive debt from borrowing money from friends. He takes the Destiny ship to go to a secret gambling party at someone's invitation in order to pay the loan. If he triumphs, his debts might be forgiven. The game's rules appear to be pretty basic. Pokers with the words rock, paper, and scissors on them must be used by participants as tools for capturing an opponent's star sign, but any slight defect in the game may be exploited in front of a bunch of desperate gamblers. Animal World has an outlandish aesthetic that really draws the viewers in. It has Michael Douglas as a puppet master who sets the rules, all while assuming the worst out of human beings. This adaptation emphasizes how highly competitive a fast-paced China is, where breaking presumptive rules results in the formation of new rules that are then flagrantly broken, even at the cost of long-standing friendships. This circumstance, like those in comics and Japanese movies, forces the protagonist to use his or her hitherto untried intellect to think through all potential consequences and double or triple crosses, and the media depicts this process through colorful visuals, rapid cuts, and whirling camera work, making for great CGI, action, and gore. It takes a really simple game and turns it into something entirely complex and deep. It deals with complex human interactions with desperation and poverty as its foundation stones. Ghost in the Shell. Based on Masamune Shiro's Japanese manga and subsequent anime of the same name, Ghost in the Shell is a 2017 science fiction action picture. It was directed by Rupert Sanders and written by Jamie Moss, William Wheeler, and Aaron Kruger. It notably stars Scarlett Johansson and Takeshi Kitano. The movie takes place in a future in which Cutter's dominant Hanka Robotics Corporation has created cybernetics technology to improve human organs. Dr. Ule is in charge of creating the fully mechanical body for Project 2571, which will be linked to a human brain. She creates a prototype using the brain of a young lady who lost her parents in a cyber attack. The lady then joins Section 9, an anti-terrorist unit led by Chief Daisuke Aramaki, and climbs to the rank of a major. She collaborates with agents Batu and Togusa as part of her designation. However, she has no memories of her prior life and needs to take medication to aid in the integration of her brain with the mechanical body. When terrorist Kuze is pursued by Section 9, Major finds out the truth about Hanka Robotics and the experiment to which she was exposed. The story follows her as she deals with her greatest foe, Kuze, a thief who has gained control of androids by hacking into their minds. A visually striking adventure, Ghost in the Shell is a wonderful live-action adaptation. It successfully showcases life in the big metropolis of the future, where people will be enhanced and integrated with AI, which is a frightening vision. Sadly, the personalities are underdeveloped. However, despite the aforementioned issues, Scarlett Johansson gives another excellent performance, and the movie is still enjoyable. Gintama, 2017. The 2017 Japanese Jidaigeki action comedy film Gintama, featuring Shonoguri and adapted from the same title manga series by Hideyama Sorachi, was written and directed by Yuichi Fukuda. The story follows a young samurai as he looks for employment wherever he can in a time when aliens have invaded and conquered feudal Tokyo. The main character, Gintoki Sakata, works odd tasks alongside Shinpachi, a former waiter, and the vivacious Kagura and this trio is thrown into an exhilarating adventure. Anytime a Gintama devotee is questioned about the anime's plot summary, the answer is convoluted. Since its TV anime adaptation in 2005, the shonen parody series, which parodies a variety of genres from action-adventure to romantic drama, has steadily built up a large fan base. One of the more well-liked anime shows among both Japanese and Western viewers is Gintama. Many fans were truly impressed with the movie and the character portrayals as a result of the focus placed on the potential live-action adaptation, considering the fact that it's such a well-known anime. The simplicity of Gintama as a live-action movie may surprise viewers who were anticipating another flop. They'll be astounded by how well the ensemble managed to mimic the well-known characters' natural demeanors. The cast of the live-action film series does a surprisingly good job of faithfully recreating their roles, and the result is a funny parody of an enjoyable theme park experience. Dragon Ball Evolution. The 2009 science fantasy martial arts movie Dragon Ball Evolution was produced by Stephen Chow, directed by James Wong, and written by Ben Ramsey. It's based on the Akira Toriyama-written Japanese comic series Dragon Ball. 18-year-old son Goku sets out on a quest to find Master Roshi, the wise martial arts master and creator of the Kamehameha technique, with his cherished grandfather Gohan on the brink of death due to Demon Lord Piccolo's failed attempt to find one of the fabled Dragon Balls. The movie follows son Goku as he sets out to collect all 7 missing mystical Dragon Balls before the upcoming solar eclipse in order to thwart megalomaniac Piccolo's schemes for global dominance. Thus, we see the young Goku expose his past in Dragon Ball Evolution as he goes up against the evil alien warlord Lord Piccolo, who wants to acquire the powerful Dragon Balls and use them to conquer Earth. While this movie has the makings of a good film adaptation, this film ultimately fails to wow fans. Many have even called this a butchering of Dragon Ball, as it attempts to put a modern spin on a material that doesn't need to be changed. If you're a fan, this one will probably disappoint you. The characters, particularly Piccolo, the main antagonist, who doesn't resemble the ones from the manga and anime, have been drastically altered and overly westernized. However, as an action movie, this one is not that terrible.
I am the future!
Detective Pikachu. Rob Lederman is the director of the 2019 mystery fantasy comedy picture Detective Pikachu. The movie, which is based on the Pokemon series, is a loose adaptation of the same named video game from 2016. So, while this one is not technically an anime adaptation, we had to include this on our list because of how widely loved Pokemon, especially the show, is. In this movie, ace detective Harry Goodman mysteriously vanishes, sparking his son Tim, aged 21, to investigate what occurred at the start of the narrative. Detective Pikachu, Harry's former Pokemon companion and an adorable super sleuth, whom even he finds puzzling, helps him with the investigation. Tim and Pikachu team up on an exciting journey to solve a complex puzzle after realizing they're uniquely suited to communicate with one another. Together, they follow clues through the neon-lit streets of Rhyme City, a vast contemporary city where people and Pokemon coexist in a highly realistic live-action setting. Along the way, they come across a variety of Pokemon characters and learn about an astonishing conspiracy that can end this harmonious coexistence and endanger the entire Pokemon universe. Ryan Reynolds gives an excellent comedic performance, while Justice Smith gives a fantastic serious performance as Tim Goodman. It's an authentic mystery journey with likable human and non-human characters with ample twists, shocks, and emotions. It seems as though the world building and Pokemon are real thanks to the spectacular VFX. The movie is intended for everyone, but Pokemon aficionados will especially enjoy it. School Live. Japan's School Live is a 2019 horror movie. It's an adaptation of Norimitsu Kai and Satoru Chiba's comic series of the same name and lives up to its anime version as well. The members of the idol group Last Idol appear in the movie, which was directed by Issei Shibata. It recounts the tale of Kurumi Ebisuzawa, Yuki Takeya, Yuri Wakasa, and Miki Naoki, who all attend the same high school in Japan. However, they are also acquainted with one another due to their shared dormitory residence and involvement in the school's club. Up until a zombie epidemic infects the students, the schoolgirls are shown having fun and enjoying their time at school. However, with a zombie outbreak looming over their heads, it all comes to a halt. If the four girls want to live, they must now learn how to survive in this unfamiliar setting, and the movie follows them on their unique journey. Although the acting isn't the greatest because the actresses are idols of a pop band, the plot in itself is intriguing. If you enjoy horror and zombie films and are hoping for a good scare, this is not the movie for you. It's neither gory nor frightening in the large part, although there are some good jump scares here and there. But this is an excellent one if you're an anime fan who wants to see the animated version come to life. The movie has a pull that keeps you watching until the very end. You support the girls in their journey and are not bored of the twists and turns the movie has to offer. It's a fun movie that's appropriate for younger audiences. My Love Story, 2015. My Love Story is a 2015 Japanese high school romantic and comedic movie that was adapted from the same named manga series by Kazuni Kawahara and Aruko. It was directed by Hayato Koei, and its anime counterpart has been well received by fans. This movie too is a good entry in the live-action adaptation genre. The film centers on Takeo, a high school freshman with a heart of gold and a hidden infatuation for the cute Rinko, despite his intimidating and muscular build. High school pupil Takeo Goda is over 2 meters tall and weighs over 100 kilograms and has a moral personality. He's unpopular with the female students, but the male students love him. In fact, Takeo's attractive friend Makoto Tsunakawa is preferred by all of the girls he loves. However, unknown to Takeo, Rinko is also in love with the gorilla-like kid, but they're unable to confess to one another due to their miscommunications. The film follows the trials and tribulations of teenage life and love and delivers a heartwarming story. Don't evaluate a book by its cover. That's how we'd sum up this movie. In order to provide audiences with charming will-they-won't-they situations, My Love Story is able to obtain casting choices that are strangely believable. Despite the cliched synopsis, My Love Story is a sweet, feel-good film with lots of heartwarming scenes. The comedic timing in this movie is great, and many scenes will literally make you burst out in laughter. This one is definitely considered to be one of the best live-action adaptations of Japanese anime and manga to date. Avatar: The Last Airbender, 2010. Everyone knows of the Avatar: The Last Airbender TV series, which was released in 2005, and the legacy it left behind. With the world building, character development, and a good soundtrack to accompany it, it was a pretty exciting series that captivated the hearts of many. Just 5 years later, a live-action movie with the same title was released, and there have been mixed reactions regarding that. According to the movie plotline, the Fire Nation wages war against the other three nations. Sokka and Katara discover Aang, the only person capable of manipulating all four elements, frozen in an iceberg. Zuko, the disgraced prince of the Fire Nation, seeks to capture Aang. Aang learns that the Fire Nation wiped out his people, the air nomads, and enters the Avatar state. Aang, Katara, and Sokka travel to the Northern Water Tribe, where Aang learns from waterbending masters. Zuko captures Aang but is defeated by Katara. Ido reveals his mastery of firebending, and Princess Yu gives her life to revive the moon spirit. Aang grazes the ocean to defeat the Fire Nation, and Fire Lord Ozai tasks Princess Azula with preventing the Avatar from mastering earth and fire. Now, as we said before, there have been varying opinions regarding the live-action movie. The film adaptation of the series left many viewers disappointed, as it failed to capture the essence of the series. Despite some stunning cinematography, scenery, and beautiful music, the film's characters were poorly explored, and the script suffered from unoriginal dialogues and wooden acting. The film's plot was also a letdown, with too many subplots that were poorly executed, and the pacing was slow and tedious, making it difficult for viewers to stay engaged. The direction was bland, and the excessive use of CGI detracted from the film's overall impact. But it's at least worth a watch just for the cinematography, and of course, Dev Patel.
Wait! Who are you?
Kenshiro.
Fist of the North Star, 1995. In the post-apocalyptic world of Fist of the North Star, two martial arts schools, North Star and Southern Cross, aim to bring order to a scarce water supply. After Shin turns against his masters, Kenshiro is left as the sole heir to the North Star. Shin defeats Kenshiro, scars his chest with the Big Dipper, and abducts his fiancée, Julia. Kenshiro survives and wanders the wasteland, encountering siblings Bat and Lin. Lin is taken prisoner by the Crossmen and threatened with execution, prompting Kenshiro to infiltrate the occupied town and rescue her. Kenshiro confronts Shin in his tower, defeating him after regaining hope from a sprouting bud. Julia then rejoins Kenshiro, and the Crossmen submit to their authority. Despite receiving harsh criticism upon its release, Fist of the North Star is actually an enjoyable adaptation of the popular Japanese graphic novels and anime from the 1980s. Made on a low budget, the film offers a lot in terms of its visual and auditory aspects. The film effectively captures the comic book style of the source material, and the post-apocalyptic settings are well portrayed to some extent. Although these types of settings are common in films like the Mad Max series, they work well as a backdrop for the film's fast-paced, action-based story that starts right from the beginning. Violence portrayed in Fist of the North Star is excessive, but it's presented in a rubbery, comical style that's not shocking or disturbing. The martial arts scenes are impressive, especially the work of actor Gary Daniels, but the camera angles sometimes reveal that the kicks and punches aren't connecting. However, the sound effects during the fight scenes help to enhance the overall experience. This is a movie you should watch just for the action-packed scenes, since most of the actors are actually martial artists, and thus there's some legitimacy to the scenes. Devilman. Devilman is the story of Akira Fudo, a frail teenager who's always been protected by his childhood friend, Ryo Asuka. When Akira loses his parents in an accident, he goes to live with the Makimura family, where he falls for Miki Makimura. However, their lives take a dramatic turn when Ryo's father unwittingly unleashes demons from a portal to Hell, located in Antarctica. The demons merge with humans to survive, causing chaos and destruction. Akira becomes the host of Amon, a demon who merges with him to become Devilman. Despite his transformation, he manages to hold on to his humanity, unlike Ryo, who becomes possessed by Satan. As panic and hysteria grip humanity, they launch a war against the demons, which ultimately leads to their own destruction. Devilman is one of the best anime and manga series, according to me, and I was thrilled to watch the live-action movie. Although it might not satisfy hardcore fans, the movie is still entertaining. The CG animation might not be perfect, but the designs of the Devilman, Selene, and Satan are pretty cool. If you're not familiar with the manga version of Devilman, some of the characters' motivations and the ending may be difficult to understand. However, the movie is interesting enough to keep you engaged throughout. The acting isn't the best, but if you enjoy fantasy and monsters fighting, you're sure to have some fun with this film. Do wish that they'd explored the relationship between Ryo and Akira more and developed their characters further before they became enemies, but it seemed like the filmmakers tried to cram too much into the short runtime of the movie. They touched on too many important storylines from the manga without exploring them in enough depth. It would have been better if they'd focused on just one or two storylines and done them justice. In short, I'd say it's a pretty curious movie, but still a one-time entertaining watch. From Today, It's My Turn, 2018. The world is not a stranger to the weird themes that Japanese media has that may seem hilarious or even appalling to the majority. Manga can convey these tropes and emotions well, but when converted to live action, things start to look questionable. But From Today, It's My Turn, 2018 is a Japanese drama series that does it well. It centers around the story of two transfer students named Takashi Mitsuhashi and Shinji Ito. The show's creators also draw inspiration from anime series. Takashi and Shinji's characters are reminiscent of the typical anime protagonists that are loved by many fans. The two boys meet each other at a salon and bond over their shared ambition to become the greatest delinquents in Japan. Despite these challenges, Takashi and Shinji remain determined and committed to achieving their goals. They seek justice and romance in their new school, which adds a twist to the show's plot. Takashi's love interest, Riko, is probably one of the few people who's seen a softer side to his delinquent personality, but his new friend Shinji is the complete opposite. Despite being as strong as Takashi, he gets trashed around more due to his righteous nature to help others in need. This makes Kyoko, a girl who used to be a delinquent too, develop affection for him. And from here on, both our protagonists have things going for them. The audience gets to see the struggles and hardships that these characters face in their pursuit of popularity and happiness, while never losing their humor and spirit, no matter what. Bunny Drop, 2012. Daikichi Kawachi, an office worker, learns about his late grandfather's illegitimate 6-year-old daughter, Rin, who's being treated as an outcast by other family members. Daikichi decides to take on the responsibility of raising Rin, which causes him to face new challenges in parenting. Despite opposition from family members and a nanny, Daikichi's decision to raise Rin leads to a happier life for both of them. Daikichi discovers that Rin's mother is a manga artist who doesn't see Rin as a daughter and decides to adopt Rin himself. With the help of a model named Yukari, Daikichi continues to raise Rin, and the story ends with a play featuring Rin and her friend Koki, while Masako, Rin's mother, looks at her picture lovingly. When it comes to what makes a movie good, there are a few common factors that come to mind, such as great photography, excellent acting, thought-provoking scenarios, famous actors, intense dramatic moments, and a memorable music score. However, Usagi Drop doesn't seem to have any of these elements. The plot is simple. An adult man decides to take care of an orphaned little girl, a storyline that's been seen numerous times before. But despite the lack of dramatic moments, the movie manages to capture its audience and keep them entertained. The film's drama is subtle but effective, and viewers who are parents may find themselves relating to the main character's struggles. The comedic moments are also well placed, reminding viewers of their own childhood experiences. While the movie doesn't have any big emotional moments or complicated plot twists, it manages to keep the audience engaged from beginning to end. One of the movie's strengths is its faithfulness to the original material. Additionally, the acting is superb, with Kenichi Matsuyama delivering an excellent portrayal of the main character. The story itself is straightforward and doesn't rely on unnecessary drama or slapstick comedy, making it a refreshing change of pace. However, some viewers may find the movie a bit childish at times. Additionally, in some scenes, the filmmakers try to replicate the anime, which doesn't always translate well to live-action films. Still, I'd like to say the movie is a heartwarming story about parenting, and is an excellent choice for viewers who want to feel good after a long day. Parasyte. It happens very rarely that both anime and live action are released in the same year, but Parasyte greenlit the decision in 2014 and 2015. Although the anime is a superior alternative to the film's adaptations, there's not much deviation from the source material. Shinichi is a high school student who has nerdy hobbies and not many friends. In the first scene, he's invaded by a parasitic organism that takes control of his arm. The creature, called Migi, gains intelligence and knowledge of its surroundings despite its intended target being Shinichi's brain. Although Shinichi isn't a sympathetic character, there is a certain degree of humor that arises from his experience and banter with Migi. Shinichi's mother and his love interest Satomi are both depicted sympathetically, although they're not given much screen time. Shinichi's mother has some backstory, and Satomi is often portrayed as either a damsel in distress or an object of sexual desire. Other characters, such as Detective Hirama and Tsuji, provide necessary information for the plot to progress, but it's not clear how they obtain this knowledge. Goto and Yamagishi make cameo appearances, possibly with the intention of having larger roles in a sequel. Parasyte is a violent film that can make viewers uncomfortable, similar to The Thing. The creatures in the film are disturbing, especially when they eat human flesh, which is accentuated by superb effects that make them look imaginative, unique, and realistic. When Shinichi discovers that people around him are being taken over, he teams up with Migi to fight the villainous creatures. Although the film isn't afraid to show tragedy, it is predictable, and the melodrama can take away from the overall experience. Despite its flaws, Parasyte provides viewers with an original and entertaining experience, though the lack of information and anticlimactic finish may leave some questions unanswered. Black Butler, 2014. Seal, Phantom Hive, and Sebastian Michaelis are household names in the horror fantasy genres of anime because of the interesting premise they offer. Released in 2008, it ran for 3 seasons full of amazing animation and voice acting. And then came the live-action movie in 2014. The film takes place in a parallel world with 2 major powers, the West and the East. Earl Kiyoharu Genpu is a Queen's watchdog tasked with investigating a series of mysterious deaths related to a human smuggler. The Queen demands a quick resolution to the case. Earl Kiyoharu Genpu and his butler Sebastian Michaelis investigate and discover an underground club where a new drug called necrosis is being used to kill wealthy party guests. The Earl's aunt, who is also responsible for killing the Earl's parents, is revealed to be the mastermind behind the plot. Sebastian saves the Earl and disarms a bomb that would have killed many people. In the end, the Earl is cleared of suspicion and Sebastian stays by her side as she falls asleep. As you can see, Seal Phantom Hive was replaced by Kiyoharu Shiori Genpo, even changing the gender of the protagonist female. Although the change is welcome, it's definitely a deviation from the manga or the anime. The movie combines various genres such as action, fantasy, gothic atmosphere, period drama, science fiction, and steampunk visuals. It offers an imaginative universe with various convincing elements. The mixture of genres is diverse and exciting, making it a unique experience. The visuals, settings, and costumes of the movie are captivating, balancing futuristic and period elements. Characters in the movie are fascinating, and viewers can quickly distinguish between heroes and villains. The story has depth and includes a few twists, making it engaging for the audience. The movie can introduce viewers to the manga series or even inspire future live-action sequels or prequels to this film. However, the movie also stands well on its own and doesn't require any background knowledge, making it appealing to a broader audience. If you're looking for an atmospheric action thriller that combines visually impressive period elements and creative futuristic fantasy passages in a quirky way, Black Butler is the movie to watch. You don't need to be a fan of the manga series or that art form to enjoy this entertaining and exciting film because it fluidly mixes genres together and makes it an enjoyable experience. Oldboy. Released in 2003, Oldboy tells the story of Desu, who's imprisoned in a hotel room for years and then released. He meets a young chef named Mido and learns that his captors run a private prison. Desu tortures the warden for information and discovers that his captor is a wealthy businessman named Lee Woo-jin. Woo-jin seeks revenge for Desu, spreading rumors about his sister committing incest, which led to her suicide. He also reveals that Mido is actually Desu's daughter and that he'd orchestrated everything to make Desu experience the same pain of incest that he did. Desu cuts out his own tongue as a sign of penance, and Woo-jin kills himself as per the deal they cut before. Desu asks a hypnotist to erase his knowledge of Mido being his daughter so that they can be together, and the movie ends ambiguously with Desu's expression while Mido hugs him in the snow. Oldboy is a unique and unconventional movie that's hard to compare to anything else, especially in the realm of Asian cinema. Adapted from the manga written by Garon Tsuchiya in 1996, the story is a bleak and dark tale, filled with twists that keep the audience guessing until the very end. Director Chan Wook Park's expert handling of the film is evident and is helped by the exceptional performances of the actors. Choi Min-sik, who plays the leading man, is a standout as he gives his all to the role, and Kang Ha-young is a perfect fit for her role as the love interest. The movie's script is brilliant, with a great story that's unveiled slowly, piece by piece, leaving the audience on the edge of their seat. There are touches of surrealism throughout the film, including a disgusting octopus-eating scene. The technical aspects of the movie are also great, with impressive one-take scenes, corridor battle, which is a must-see. The film also has violent scenes, including the squirm-inducing, tooth-pulling torture. The ending of the movie is a masterwork of cinema, and the reason why the lead character, Desu, was imprisoned is revealed in a shocking twist. Although the film isn't an easy one to sit through, it's a well-made and affecting movie. Oldboy is a challenging, gut-punching, and outrageous film that's one of the bad boys of our time. The Guyver. Yoshiki Takeya wrote Bio-Booster Armor Guyver in 1985, which is known as Guyver for short. It was a pretty unique concept that involved alien bioarmor and a lot of action-packed panels. So, obviously, it was adapted into a live-action film in 1991. Dr. Tetsu Sagawa steals an alien device called the Guyver unit from Kronos, but is caught and killed by Liska, one of Kronos' henchmen. Sean Barker, Sagawa's daughter's boyfriend, stumbles upon the Guyver unit and fuses with it to become the Guyver. He rescues Sagawa's daughter and battles Liska and his gang of Zoanoids, ultimately defeating them. After being experimented on, Sagawa's daughter accidentally swallows the control metal, causing Sean to regenerate and mutate into the Guyver once again. Sean battles and kills Liska, Butler as well as the other Zoanoids and ultimately defeats Bulkus, the Zoalord, with the Guyver's cannons. Sean and Sagawa's daughter escape the Kronos headquarters while Colonel Castle and Stryker watch on. As someone who adores tokusatsu in all its forms, I was thrilled to discover an American film adaptation of an anime I'd never heard of. The premise was particularly exciting. A human stumbles upon an alien device that transforms into a living suit of armor. However, despite the concept's potential, there was one major issue that threatened to derail the film's success: translation. Back in the 90s, anime had yet to gain mainstream recognition, which meant that filmmakers were uncertain about how to approach it. Unfortunately, this uncertainty translated into the movie's inability to establish a consistent tone. On the other hand, the film does have a few redeeming qualities. The fight scenes are particularly impressive, combining martial arts and wire work with flashy superpowers to create truly entertaining sequences. The design of the Guyver and the Zoanoids is also top-notch, with impressive attention to detail. The music is energetic and intense, and the acting is mostly decent, with Mark Hamill being a standout as a detective trying to solve the film's central mystery. However, the film is ultimately let down by its inconsistent tone. It's as if there are two movies being played out simultaneously, one that's over the top and goofy, and another that's serious and gritty. The result is a jarring clash of styles that fails to engage viewers on any and every level. For that reason, I'll have to recommend giving it a miss. Azumi, 2003. Azumi is a tale of a young girl named Azumi who's raised in a remote mountain area by a master who teaches her and 9 other students martial arts and assassination techniques. The master informs the students that only 5 of them will be selected for a mission, but doesn't reveal what the mission is. To qualify, the students are forced to fight and kill each other, and only Azumi and 4 others survive. The group is then sent to assassinate 3 warlords. The mission is successful, but one of their comrades dies of poisoning, and another is killed by a mercenary hired to kill them. Azumi and her remaining friends decide to abandon their violent lifestyle and journey over the mountains. While watching this movie, I felt that it was too short despite being about 140 minutes long, and it left quite a lasting impression on me. The fight scenes are spectacular, but not the main focus of the story. The movie portrays the sternness of the Japanese lifestyle back then, and how little life was valued over honor and revenge. The acting and dialogue are good, and most of the characters are even great. I particularly liked the heroine Azumi and the character Kanbei, but felt that Bijumaru was a major flaw. The fight scenes have great visual effects and wire work, and the score fits perfectly. So maybe give it a try. After all, there's a sequel to it. 2. Azumi 2, Death or Love, 2005. As a continuation of the prequel, Azumi and Nagara are being hunted by ninjas hired by General Kanbei for their assassinations, including the killing of his master. They hide in a temple for Nagara to heal, while Azumi encounters some bandits led by Ginkaku, who looks like her former friend Nachi. They're found by allied ninjas working for the priest Enkai, and leave to find their final target, Sanada Mazuyuki, accompanied by a government ninja named Kazui. Kanbei assembles a large force to avenge his master, including Ginkaku and his brother. Azumi and her group return to Ginkaku's village, where they separate paths. Nagara leaves to start a new life with Kazui, while Azumi continues her mission. She fights Roppa and other enemies before encountering Tsuchigumo, whom she kills. But during this encounter, she's also cut and falls into a paralytic sleep. Kunio tells Azumi she knows nothing of life, and Ginkaku appears to save her, but is mortally injured. Azumi fights Sanada and kills him. Yukimura allows her to live unmolested as a sign of respect, and she departs the battlefield to travel to parts unknown. The sequel can't be considered a standalone film, as it directly continues from where the first part left off, without any explanations or flashbacks to recap the story. It will be challenging for anyone who hasn't seen the first part to understand the storyline. The actors and extras are the same, with some of them playing different characters, which can be confusing. For instance, the same actor plays a friendly swordsman in the second part, who was a killed foe in the first part, and both characters have the same name. Despite these drawbacks, the plot is more refined and delves deeper into the psychology of the characters. The fight scenes are more realistic, and the direction is slightly better than in the first part. However, it still contains the same Japanese cliches and lame excuses for action sequences, which might disappoint some viewers. One new addition to the second part is the introduction of a rival clan of assassins, each with a unique fighting style, which adds a popular element of super strong ninja fighters to the movie. Additionally, guns are used more frequently, but with the same inefficiency as in the first part, but that's okay. It's an entertaining watch that won't let you feel bored throughout its length. Battle of the Warriors, 2006. Known also as the Battle of Wits, Battle of Warriors is a war film adapted from the manga Boko, written by Hideki Mori in 1992. It depicts war in a very real and humane way that shows us both sides of the story. The film is set in ancient China during the Warring States period. Ge Li, a Moist, comes to Liang to help defend the city against the invading army from the Zhao state. Although the king of Liang is planning for peace talks, Ge Li convinces him and the people of Liang to resist the invaders. Ge Li creates a bulwark and various traps to halt the Zhao army's advance, but his style of working working puts him at odds with Liang Shi and other Liang generals. Gulli's success earns him the support of the people, and he becomes a highly revered hero. Meanwhile, the king feels threatened by Gulli's growing popularity, so he plots to have Gulli stripped of his post and executed on false charges. When the Zhao army retreats, Gulli plans to leave Liang, but is accused of plotting to seize the throne. Liang eventually falls to the Zhao army, but the people of Liang rise up against the invaders and succeed in defeating them and driving them out of the city. Before the film ends, Gulli leaves with some orphans to promote peace among the various warring states. The king of Liang meets his downfall 5 years later. Andy Lau plays Gulli, a skilled military leader who believes in universal love and tries to achieve victory with minimal violence. The film also includes a love story between Gulli and Yi Yu, portrayed by Fan Bingbing, but tragedy soon follows. Despite the film's respectable running time, some scenes feel rushed due to editing, resulting in occasional visual and performance issues. However, the film's deeper message regarding the horrors of warfare and the fallibility of humanity is delivered through well-written characters and context. The film shies away from pyrotechnics and wireworks, focusing on a memorable message. Some flaws include ridiculous visual effects, over-directed action, and awkwardly dubbed voice tracks with almost no proper soundtrack. But there are few movies that portray war with such realism. So, for the military and war genre fans, this one is for you. Tokyo Ghoul. Tokyo Ghoul takes place in a different reality where ghouls, who can only survive by consuming human flesh, exist covertly alongside regular humans. They hide their true nature to avoid being caught by the authorities. The story follows the life of Ken Kaneki, a typical college student. After being attacked by his date, Rise Kamishiro, who later discloses herself as a ghoul, he's taken to a hospital where he discovers that he's undergone a transformation surgery that turned him into a half-ghoul. His transformation was made possible by transplanting Rise's organs into his body, and now, like any other ghoul, he must feed on human flesh to sustain himself. Kaneki faces difficulties as he tries to adapt to his new half-ghoul identity and integrate into ghoul society while concealing his true nature from his human companions. Adapted from the 2014 anime series, which only lasted for 2 seasons, the live adaptation is actually one of the better ones out there. Upon hearing about another anime adaptation, I had low expectations due to the recent pattern of disappointing adaptations. However, I was pleasantly surprised to find this particular movie to be quite good. As a manga reader, I found that the adaptation followed the source material closely, with only minor changes that didn't affect the story's quality. For example, there was a slight change in the setting during a fight between 2 characters, but it didn't detract from the overall experience. The characters' personalities were also accurately portrayed, with Hide being cheerful, Kaneki being vulnerable, and Toka being aggressive. What I appreciated most about this movie was that it didn't attempt to include all the aspects of Tokyo Ghoul within its 2-hour runtime. Instead, it focused on one story arc and successfully conveyed Kaneki's emotions as he adjusted to his new life as a ghoul. The movie also took the time to establish the world and its workings. The only downside to the film was the use of computer-generated imagery, which was not up to par with the rest of the production. However, this flaw wasn't enough to detract from the general quality of the movie. In fact, the Kagane, a ghoul's predatory organ, looked impressive, but its integration with the human characters could have been better. Despite this, I highly recommend this adaptation and would definitely watch any sequels that might be released. G-Saviour. Created as part of the 20th anniversary of the Gundam Big Bang project, G-Saviour was released in 1999. As for the storyline, in Universal Century 0223, the former Earth Federation has collapsed, and the space colonies now refer to themselves as independent settlements. 2 factions have emerged: the Congress of Settlement Nations, Consent, and the Settlement Freedom League. Mark Curran, an ex-Consent pilot, saves a Lieutenant Tim Holloway from intruders who have commandeered the research facility where Mark works. Mark saves one of the intruders, Cynthia Graves, and discovers an enzyme that can solve the global food shortage. Mark and Cynthia, along with Cynthia's interns and Mark's fiancée, escape to the Side 4 settlement of New Manhattan, where Mark receives a new mobile suit, the G-Saviour. They travel to Gaia, where they're pursued by the Consent forces who want to apprehend them and the enzyme sample. Mark and Gaia's forces engage in battle with the Consent forces, and Garneau, the general, reveals his intention to destroy the enzyme and implement a policy of selective starvation across the settlement nations. Philippe and the Illuminati's forces arrive and push back the attack, and Mark defeats Jack in battle. The Consent forces withdraw from Gaia, and Mark returns to Earth with Cynthia. G-Saviour is a decent movie that fits into the Gundam universe with a storyline that is above par. Characters are well done, but if you're expecting non-stop mecha battles and robots tearing each other apart, well, you might be disappointed. However, the limited mecha scenes are well done, and you can see the G-Saviour in action with its laser cannons and beam sabers as it saves the day. For those who are die-hard Gundam or mecha fans and must watch everything related to Gundam, G-Saviour is worth watching. You'll get to see some cool mecha battles that are worth checking out. However, if you're new to the world of anime and or Gundam and have access to animated shows, it may be better to watch those instead of this movie. You can consider G-Saviour as a last resort, or wait for a live-action version of the original series to come out. Blood, the Last Vampire, 2009. Very rarely it happens that an anime movie is made before its manga is released, and that is exactly what happened in the case of Blood, the Last Vampire. Released in 2000, the anime became the source material for the live adaptation movie that came out in 2009. Saya is a half-human, half-vampire who hunts vampires in 1970s Tokyo. She works with the Council, a secret society that's been hunting vampires for centuries, and goes undercover as a student at Kanto High School to complete her next mission. She saves Alice from being attacked by vampires, but Alice's father doesn't believe her story. After her father's death, Alice seeks Saya's help, and they go off to the mountains to find and slay Onigen, the oldest of the vampires who murdered Saya's father. During their pursuit, they fall into a ravine and wake up in ancient Japan where Saya was raised. Saya slays Onigen, who's revealed to be her mother. In the end, Alice is interviewed about the events, but her interviewer doesn't believe her story, and Saya is still searching for a way back from the other side of the looking glass. Blood, the Last Vampire is an action film with Hyun Ji-hyun, who plays a beautiful, invincible Saya who possesses a blade that can cut through vampires, monsters, and demons. However, despite its anime roots, the film falls short of its potential due to a lack of credible villains and an over-reliance on badly delivered CGI. Saya's invincibility also creates no challenge in dispatching scores of faceless beings, and her action sequences are masked with fast cuts and close-ups. Although there are some nice moments, such as the setup of the council and the cleanup jobs, and the score, which is provided by Clint Mansell, the film is ultimately style over substance with a wafer-thin plot. Crying Freeman, 1995. Adapted from the manga written by Kazuo Koike in 1986, Crying Freeman has 3 live adaptations, out of which we're going to talk about the 1995 French-Canadian produced one. Emu O'Hara is painting a landscape in San Francisco when she witnesses a murder committed by Yo, an assassin who appears emotionless except for the tears that well up in his eyes. When Emu returns to Vancouver, Shido Shimazaki announces that his clan is going to war with the Sons of the Dragons, a Chinese triad. Emu soon finds out that she's the next target of the Freeman, a deadly assassin because she was the only witness to the murder of Shimazaki's son. However, instead of killing her, Yo surprises Emu by making love to her before Ryuji and his gang break into the house. Despite being outnumbered, Yo fights back, killing the thugs and wounding Ryuji, but not before Emu is shot in the process. Emu later travels to Japan to reunite with Yo, who reveals to her that he is the Crying Freeman, an assassin who had been brainwashed by the Sons of the Dragons. Together with Ko, his assistant, Yo travels to Tokyo to eliminate Ryuji and wipe out the Sons of the Dragons. At the funeral of Shimizaki, Kimi reveals to Neita that the Shimizakis were set up by her own family, the Hanadas, to be killed so that they could take over the clan. Yo and Ko take out Ryuji and his gang, but not before Ko is killed by Ryuji. Yo then returns to his home, where he prepares for a final confrontation with Neita and Kimi, along with her henchmen. Despite being wounded by Neita, Yo manages to defeat Kimi and her men. Kimi, grateful that Yo saved her life, gives her word of honor that he and Emu will not be pursued. As Yo and Emu prepare to leave the place, Kimi shoots Neita from behind because he tries to kill the couple. Emu and Yo then ride off into the sunset on a speedboat, free from danger and together at last. Crying Freeman is a great film that can be appreciated without knowledge of its source material. Directed by Christoph Gantz, the film has a perfect balance of poetic beauty and violent action scenes. The film is made with high standards of quality, evident in the writing, directing and cinematography. The cast, led by Mark Dacascos and Julie Condra, delivers excellent performances. Ray Dawn Chong and Cheki Cario also appear, with their voices dubbed over by Deborah Kara Unger and Ron Perlman, respectively. Other notable actors include Byron Mann, Jerry Wasserman, and Mako. A good action movie with an interestingly sincere plot. What more could we ask for? Crows Zero, 2007. Based on the manga written by Hiroshi Takahashi in 1990, Crows Zero is the first of the 3 live adaptations of this manga, released in 2007. It has its roots in the Yankee culture that Japan had during the 70s and the years after that. It tells the story of Genji Takiya, a newly transferred high school senior who wants to conquer Sujuran Oldboys High School, known for its violent delinquents. Genji becomes embroiled in a brawl with the Yakuza who mistake him for a target and witness his prowess. He then meets R&B singer Aizawa Ruka and asks his Yakuza boss father, Takiya Hideo, to acknowledge him as his successor if he succeeds in his goal. Genji is told by his friend to defeat Rindeman, a legendary fighter, but fails in his attempt. He then builds his army called Genji Perfect Saya, GPS, and begins recruiting members. Meanwhile, Serizawa Tamao, a third-year student of the school, begins recruiting members for his own cause. Tensions rise and conflicts start brewing, but both leaders hold back. However, after a series of events, they finally agree to fight, with Tokyo undergoing an operation simultaneously. In the end, Genji defeats Serizawa, and his friend Ken decides to leave the Yakuza and start a new life. The film has a well-designed story that smoothly flows from beginning to end, with the main theme being school politics and friendship, rather than just random violence. The main character, played by Oguri Shun, goes through a significant development from a clueless kid to a leader supported by trustworthy friends. The cinematography is excellent, paying attention to every detail in every scene, making it even more visually pleasing than Miike's other movies. The casting is impressive, with recognizable faces, including Yamada Takayuki, who gives a powerful presence as a villain. The movie is an easy-to-follow, well-directed action film with a meaningful message, despite the cheesiness associated with manga adaptations or high school violence, so it definitely is worth being on your watch list. Crows Explode, 2014. The third installment in the Crows franchise and released in 2014, Crows Explode follows the story of Kaburogi Kazeo. Kazeo is a new student at Suzuran Oldboys High School, and on his first day, he witnesses a fight between the school's top fighter, Gura Toru, and another student, interrupted by the arrival of another transfer student, Kagami Ryohei. Kazeo confronts Ryohei about hitting some students with his car, but is ignored. Kazeo is then attacked by a student, but wins the fight. Meanwhile, Ken, a former mob enforcer, tries to keep a low profile, but is roped into working at a local auto dealer. Kazeo is ranked as the 5th fighter in the school, but he rejects the idea of challenging Gura. Ryohei proves to be a skilled fighter and takes on challenges. Kazeo and Kenichi get into a fight with Shibata Hiroki from a rival school. Ken becomes smitten with the owner of the dealership, but soon discovers that the local mob is trying to force them out. Kazeo visits his father's grave and shares stories with Ken. The Nakata shop is set on fire by Fujiwara, a former Kurosaki student turned mob recruit. Ryohei defeats Gura and becomes Suzuran's top fighter. Ken asks Kazeo to stop Ryohei, and Kazeo leads his gang to confront Ryohei and Fujiwara. Kazeo finally defeats Ryohei, and Ken takes him away from the influence of the Nara gang. In the end, Kazeo faces the final obstacle on his path to conquering Suzuran, the indomitable Rindeman. The third movie in the Crows franchise had been eagerly anticipated by fans of the series who were big fans of the first two movies, including myself. However, after finally seeing the movie, I was left feeling disappointed and let down. One of the main reasons for the disappointment was the lack of an impressive star cast, particularly the absence of original cast members such as Shun Oguri as Takiya Genji and Takayuki Yamada as Serizawa Tamao. These actors had previously immortalized their characters and the entire franchise with their power-packed fists and acting. Contrast, the new release didn't have an impressive star cast. Another issue with the movie was the lack of action, which was a fundamental aspect of the franchise. It felt like the only action in the movie was right at the beginning and then at the very end, and that it was over before the audience could even begin to enjoy it. While some of the actors were good with acting, they didn't impress with their action skills, which was another major letdown. In addition to the lack of action, I also felt that the plot deviation took away from the essence of the basic movie. The character development and plot progression were pretty unsatisfactory, with some of the characters feeling wasted and underdeveloped. For example, Rindeman was barely present in the movie, which was disappointing, but that's the way sequels go sometimes. City Hunter, 1993. With Jackie Chan helming the lead role, City Hunter was a 1993 movie adapted from the manga of the same name, written by Tsukasa Hojo. Ryo and Kaori are tasked with finding Shizuko Imamura, the CEO's runaway daughter. While searching, Kaori leaves upset with Ryo's flirting, and Shizuko boards a luxury cruise ship with terrorists planning to hijack it. Shizuko overhears the plot and escapes, but Ryo saves her from a terrorist in the boiler room. McDonald, the leader of the terrorists, kills the captain and hosts a sadistic card game, but Ryo and his companions defeat him. McDonald kidnaps Kaori, and after a long fight, he accidentally triggers bombs on the ship and dies. Shizuko's father asks Ryo to marry her, but Kaori leaves in anger. Ryo apologizes with a rose, but gives it to Seiko instead, leading to Kaori hitting him with a hammer in his recurring dream. I personally liked the film and found it funny, with Jackie Chan playing a different type of comedy character. Viewers are advised to watch it as a live-action cartoon and not take it too seriously. There's plenty of action, including kung fu, and the fighting scenes are both terrific and hilarious. Ching-Mi Yao is in the film and is given more independence than women in other Wong Jing films, but is still portrayed as a hot idiot. You might also enjoy a reference to Bruce Lee in the film, just like I did. To fans of Jackie Chan, City Hunter, and Wong Jing, this movie is much recommended. Casshern, 2004. Casshern is a 2004 movie that features neoroiders, that is, androids with the consciousness of a human. The movie follows the story of Tetsuya, a soldier who dies at war, and his father, Dr. Azuma's attempts to revive him using neocells. The neocells are a discovery of Dr. Azuma, which he believes can be used to regenerate human tissue, and are found only in the genome of a primitive ethnic group. When Tetsuya dies, a lightning bolt strikes the facility and stimulates the neocells, causing Tetsuya's body to be resurrected. However, the Neo-Sapiens who were formed from the same process are hunted by the military and seek revenge against humanity. In the end, Casshern, as Tetsuya comes to be known, stops his father from resurrecting his mother and kills him. Luna is revived by the blood of Burai, and Casshern kills in the final battle. Casshern uses impressive visual effects and a futuristic alternate world, but fails to deliver a coherent storyline, character development, or pacing. The plot revolves around the resurrected superhuman Casshern fighting against mutant humanoids in a post-war society, but the story is spread too thin over the movie's 2-hour, 20-minute runtime, with cliché progressions and an inevitable apocalyptic climax. The film is recommended for fans of the anime series and those who enjoy CGI visual stimulation, but not for those seeking a thought-provoking and well-developed storyline. Despite some impressive effects, the movie is disjointed and lacks substance. Might want to give this a miss, to be honest. Ichi the Killer, 2001. Ichi the Killer's publicity machine handed out bath bags at 2 film festivals, which led to bans in Norway, Malaysia, and Germany after reports of audience members vomiting and fainting. What was so shocking about this adaptation of Hideo Yamamoto's manga, which was written in 1998? Ichi, a disturbed man with a traumatic past, is manipulated by Gigi, a mastermind who orchestrates events to pit Yakuza clans against each other. Ichi kills Anjo, a sadistic Yakuza boss, and is credited with the murder by Gigi's cleaning crew. Kakihara, Anjo's enforcer, believes Anjo is still alive and seeks revenge on his kidnappers. Ichi becomes a killing machine for Gigi, who implants false memories in his mind to control him. Kakihara enlists the help of corrupt police detectives to find Gigi, while Gigi seduces Ichi through Karen, a prostitute. Kakihara, Kaneko, and Ichi confront each other on a rooftop, leading to Kaneko's death and Kakihara's hallucinations. In the end, Gigi's corpse is found hanging from a tree in a park, and a young man resembling Takeshi leaves the scene. Takashi Miike is a director who specializes in creating shock cinema and immerses himself in gruesome imagery, going beyond the typical level of sadism that most horror movies use. His film, Ichi the Killer, represents a high watermark for sadistic movies, with new and inventive tortures and forms of mortification. The film is based on a manga and features the character Ichi, a brainwashed and quivering wreck of a person who dresses up in a crazy outfit, equipped with retractable blades that spring out when he performs his martial arts maneuvers. Miike pushes the film's violence to such outrageous levels that the only sane reaction is to laugh. The film is filled with spilled guts, dismembered bodies, decapitated heads, blood, and other extreme forms of violence, reaching a level of slaughter that becomes surreal comedy. Although there are moments where Miike wants to touch the audience, he's only serious about visualizing torture, mutilation, and extreme body modifications as bloodily as possible. Despite the movie's reprehensible content, it's done with humor and glee, making it appealing to audiences. The film's attitude toward existence is nihilistic, but it's still a classic in the field of shock cinema. I Am a Hero, 2016. Hideo Suzuki is a 35-year-old assistant to a manga artist who feels that his life is unfulfilling and lacking in purpose. He's frustrated by his low-paying job, unmet aspirations, and poor relationships, which leaves him with low self-esteem. He views himself as a minor character in his own life, which further exacerbates his feelings of dissatisfaction. However, Hideo's life takes a dramatic turn when a deadly disease referred to as ZQN sweeps across the world, causing people to transform into violent, zombie-like creatures. These zombies are driven by an insatiable hunger for human flesh and will attack anyone in their path. With only his shotgun for protection, Hideo must flee for his life, and he eventually meets other survivors along the way. As Hideo and his companions attempt to survive the apocalypse, they're forced to confront difficult moral decisions. Eventually, only 3 of them survive and make their way to the top of Mount Fuji in search of safety. Although some may appreciate this movie due to their fascination with Japanese culture, I personally think this film could have been much better. As a fan of zombie movies, I found the zombies to be merely a tool used to emphasize the main character's incompetence. This is evident in the fact that nearly every scene involving zombies ends with the lead character being saved by someone else or simply getting lucky. Throughout the movie, there are instances where the protagonist could have easily saved someone's life by saying or doing something, but fails to act. The only time the lead character is proactive in saving the day is towards the end, when he finally uses his shotgun, but even then, he relies heavily on luck to survive. The lack of character development and plot also adds to the movie's flaws. There's barely enough plot to fill 30 to 40 minutes of screen time, and the characters lack any clear goals or motivations. It's difficult to root root for any of them as they all seem unlikable and are frequently seen standing around doing nothing as zombies approach. Now, you have to take my opinion with a grain of salt, but if you're a zombie genre enthusiast, maybe give it a go. Kaiji, the Ultimate Gambler, 2009. Kaiji is a Japanese live-action film directed by Toya Sato and released in 2009. It's based on the manga series Gambling Apocalypse Kaiji, written and illustrated by Nobuyuki Fukumoto. The film premiered on October 10, 2009 in Japan and is the first installment in a trilogy. The sequel, Kaiji 2, was released in 2011. It continues Kaiji's journey as he tries to escape his debt and find redemption. It's a gripping and intense film that showcases the dangers of gambling addiction and the lengths people will go to in order to overcome their problems. The protagonist of the story is Kaiji Ito, a young man who has just graduated from high school and has moved to Japan. Unfortunately, he struggles to find employment and is unable to fit into society, leading him to resort to vices such as gambling, drinking, and vandalizing cars. 2 years after his move, Kaiji is met with a debt collector named Endo, who offers him 2 choices to repay his debt. Kaiji must either pay off his debt over 10 years or board a gambling boat for 1 night to settle his debt and potentially earn more money. Despite his reservations about the situation, Kaiji decides to take the gamble and boards the boat. Endo, however, has tricked Kaiji into joining the boat, believing that he'll not return. Nevertheless, Kaiji is determined to win the game and turn his life around. As the night progresses, Kaiji encounters various opponents and obstacles on his path to victory. Kaiji follows the story of debt-ridden men who are exploited in a desperate attempt to pay off their debts. While the film tries to pack a lot into its plot, including exploring the underground society, the rich tyrant, and the games, it doesn't delve deep enough into each of these aspects. This leaves the viewer wanting to know more, particularly about the organization running the games. Despite its absurdity, the film manages to keep the viewer fascinated throughout. However, the pacing feels off at times, especially during the scene on the Brave Man Road in the endgame, where characters emote for an extended period of time, playing up the melodrama. Kaiji himself is a typical hero found in Japanese films, starting as a loser and gaining backbone and determination while sticking to his moral code, even as others around him give in to temptation and fear. The twist ending is amusing, although viewers may feel a little cheated after everything Kaiji has gone through. In a Western film, Kaiji would have likely found a way to destroy the organization. However, the film's ending reflects the reality that most of us face when it comes to financial institutions and the power of the rich. Kaiji manages to get out of debt, giving hope to those who find themselves in similar situations. In today's economy, Kaiji's story is more relevant than ever, highlighting the exploitation that many face due to their financial circumstances. Liar Game live-action movies. Kanzaki returns to the Liar Game tournament after Yokoya's withdrawal and reunites with Akiyama, Etsu, and Fukunaga. In the final stage, players choose between gold, silver, and red apples to brand their names on. The winner earns 100 million, but those in the minority lose 100 million. Choosing red earns all players 100 million, but choosing gold or silver earns those with those apples 100 million and those with red lose 100 million. 2 players betray Kanzaki's attempt to vote red, leading to Akiyama's elimination. In the end, Akiyama wins, and it's revealed that the tournament was based on wealthy investors' bets. Kanzaki and Akiyama use the prize money to repay the debts of the earlier losers. In the next edition, the game is a variant of musical chairs, and players elect a representative after each round to remove a chair from the game. Alliances are formed to win the elections and eliminate the chairs of other groups. The remaining players receive 20 tokens, with the winner's tokens being worth 100 million yen each. I usually prefer to experience stories through manga in general, believing them to be better than their respective live-action series. However, after reading the Liar Game manga and enjoying it, I decided to give the live-action series a chance. To my surprise, the acting was excellent and the actors were well suited for their role. While the show may come across as theatrical, the camera angles, stage decoration, lighting, and music are all impressive. The characters may be irritating, but this is due to their portrayal in the manga, and the show's adherence to the original source material is appreciated. The most enjoyable aspect of the show is the excitement and innovation of the games presented, which are thoroughly explained and entertaining to watch. Totally recommend watching the show despite my initial reservations. Tokyo Zombie, 2005. Tokyo Zombie, a well-known manga series created by Yusaku Anakuma, was later adapted into a Japanese film in 2005. The film, directed and written by Sakichi Sato, stars Tadanobu Asano, Sho Aikawa, and Erika Okuda, and closely follows the storyline of the original manga. The film centers around 2 main characters, Fujio and Mitsuo, who are full-time slackers employed at a fire extinguisher factory. During the lunch breaks, they train in jiu-jitsu with the hopes of becoming champions one day. However, their lives take a drastic turn when they murder their boss and dump his body in a toxic waste dump known as Black Fuji, located in Tokyo. As a result of their actions, a horde of the undead rises from the toxic waste dump and begins attacking the living. Fujio and Mitsuo are now faced with a dangerous situation that they must navigate if they want to survive the zombie apocalypse. With their limited jiu-jitsu skills, they must decide whether to help or flee from Tokyo. The film captures the same sense of dark humor and satire found in the original manga. It provides an entertaining and thought-provoking story that explores the consequences of irresponsible actions and the lengths people will go to survive in a chaotic and dangerous world. The cast of Tokyo Zombie does an excellent job of capturing the film's comedic tone, with the zombie characters being particularly comically exaggerated. This leads to plenty of overacting, which adds to the film's humor. It's essential to approach the movie with the understanding that it's a zombie comedy spoof rather than a serious zombie film. For those who need a point of reference, Tokyo Zombie can be described as an extreme version of Shaun of the Dead, but with a distinctive Japanese flair. While it may not be everyone's cup of tea, those who appreciate its unique blend of humor and horror will find it to be a memorable and entertaining experience. The film's hilarious take on the zombie genre is refreshing, plenty of tongue-in-cheek moments that are sure to delight fans of the genre. Wild 7, 2011. Ex-convicts catching other criminals sounds extremely risky even if it is monitored by the government, but the police force in Wild 7 have no other option. In Japan, the Japanese National Police Agency establishes a secret motorcycle unit called the Wild 7 to combat the increase in criminal and terrorist activities. The team comprises reformed convicts who have had a past in criminal activities, ranging from simple thugs to former Yakuza members. They're given the responsibility to eliminate criminals who are beyond the reach of law enforcement due to their connections with influential politicians and shrewd lawyers. Their current mission is to capture a dangerous terrorist who is threatening to unleash a deadly virus. In the meantime, a vast government conspiracy is set to be revealed. Although I've not read the manga, I must say that the live-action adaptation of the story is one of the most enjoyable and thrilling popcorn movies to come out of Japan. While there were a few predictable and overused moments in the plot, the incredible cast and impressive action sequences more than made up for it. Additionally, the orchestral electronic score with choir by the renowned composer Kenji Kawai greatly enhanced the overall cinematic experience. It's truly disappointing that the film doesn't have a sequel, as it would have been a delight to see the story and characters continue on the big screen. The primary theme for the Wild 7 group is heroism and is immediately recognizable, leaving viewers captivated. Furthermore, there are various atmospheric variations of the theme, each more exciting than the last. The heroic extensions only add to the overall grandeur of the score. The secondary theme for Yuki is also noteworthy, with a romantic yet fragile melody that perfectly complements the character. Though not as dominant as the primary theme, it still leaves a lasting impression on viewers. Overall, the score adds an unforgettable layer to the movie, making it an experience worth revisiting. While there's no guarantee that every live adaptation of an anime or manga is going to be faithful to the source, there are definitely some good ones out there that have enough budget and good casting to make it a successful venture. Most of them don't perform well due to various reasons such as format change or difference in creative decisions, such as coaxing countless hours of artwork to be translated to a live-action script robs the art of its complete narrative, but that's just part of the game. While nothing can compete with anime due to obvious reasons, give the movies on this list a chance. Who knows, you might find out something new about your preferences. As always, thank you for staying with us till the end of this video, and happy binging. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one, and be safe. Thanks, everyone.